We are coming at you right now, Outliers. It's Niiamah Ashong, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey. We're here on the Outliers Edge Roundtable, where we take people and take the stories of outliers who are honestly standing for something in the world and using that what they stand for to create businesses, to create impact, and to change lives while they're here. Today I'm honored and excited to bring you three outliers who are playing the game in their own unique way. And so why don't we get started here with getting you a chance to get to know each of them and the game that they play. Let's start off here with Andrew. Andrew, it's a pleasure to have you on here. Can you share with outliers here about you, your business, and like the impact that you're on this planet to create?
All right, I'm excited. First of all, I just want to let you know that, Niama, I'm excited just to be around great minds like yourself and just to break intellectual bread, and
Mm.
I'm really just here to not just give because I consider myself a giver. I'm always giving, but we also need to feed. We need to be at the table of someone. You understand what I'm saying? So I'm really grateful to be here. But to answer your question, my name is Andrew Egan. I'm a work-life enrichment coach and consultant. I'm also a registered psychotherapist here in Toronto, Canada. And I work with corporate clients to help build resiliency in leaders, to help them understand that emotional intelligence is the way to go. And it helps you to understand that leadership is your only platform that you help people to see what's going on between your ears. I am the author of several books. The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community. The other one is Work Your Words and Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success. And the next one that's coming up is Win Where You Are. Stop waiting to become, because I believe people are trying to win a game, trying to win a race, trying to win somewhere else other than where they need to win.
Well, I am excited to be here. I'm excited to win with you, and I'm sure the allies are feeling exactly the same here. Thank you, Angie, for bringing what you bring to the table. Laurent, why don't we get to know you here? Can you share a little bit about yourself here and the game that you're playing?
Well, yes. I started off, as I said earlier, that dude from personal experience, from hardship and the existential questions it triggered. The why live really, essentially. That's the ground upon which everybody builds his life or her life, and mine, as I said, started from something that completely upended my own life, my own sense of purpose and everything. And so I had to reinvent myself. And it's on that stage that I found, the beginning of a solution, answers that I felt I needed to find through a multidisciplinary approach, because I found that in approaching these great questions, I was facing, of course, some religious answers, some philosophical answers, some from all kinds, all walks, all areas of the world, either Eastern, Western, or other, and I needed something, an approach that was very integrative, that looked at many different areas, either scientific, philosophical, religious, even spiritual, whatever. And I found the need to come up with something that would make sense of everything within the context of something that that looked at everything from all angles as much as I could, of course, because as a single human being, you have certain limitations. But I aim to coordinate, to integrate, to see how I could bring it into a living whole. And I think that seems to be what's missing right now. We've got science saying one thing, certain philosophical persuasions are saying other things, religion is saying other things, and I want to see what is the common denominator. What would help people make sense of their life, find their sense of purpose, find their sense of self, and find why love is ultimately, even if it sounds like a little slogan, why at the end of this journey, love becomes the real driving force of one's life. It should be, because we are all profoundly interconnected. We are the product of something far greater than ourselves, and somewhere it becomes, as all these people have said so brilliantly, it's all an experience of giving and receiving, but it's life should be about love. And that's what I found at the end of this journey, is it trying to make sense of all of it. Is it that's the only thing ultimately that makes sense, is trying to be a part of the whole, a constructive one.
So there's something here that like I'm excited to explore this with you because I have a number of different clients who come to me and they're like, I'm all about love, right? And it took me a long time to start to understand what that actually means. And I feel like you have a lot of you've looked at it from a number of different perspective here. So Laurent, I'm really glad that you're on this conversation. I'm glad we're having it, and I'm excited to see where we take the rest of the combo.
Of course.
All right. So let's get a chance to get to meet Ibrahim. Ibrahim, do you mind letting us know more about you and the game that you're playing right now?
Right. So my name is Ibrahim Mustapha, and I'm happy to meet like-minded people who are also creating change. And I've been a public speaking coach for the past 15 years, helping people develop their voice. Why? Because I've realized that our voices makes a difference. You can see entrepreneurs, people who are high-level achievers, but they get on stage and they are fumbling. They don't even know their purpose. They can't even tell their mission. They can't even tell their vision. So I've picked up the pieces and asked myself, why? Why can't people speak up? Sometimes they are afraid to make mistakes, grammatical errors. But then there are some people who make all the grammatical errors, but they still speak up and they make that difference. They are able to share their ideas, sell their projects, sell their ideas, and make a difference. And I have also published a lot of books, and this is the first one, The Confident Speaker. And just to let people know that apart from speaking up, voicing up, you need to have a legacy. What are you writing up? What are people learning from you? When you are gone, what's left? And that has been my purpose, and helping people. Also, after speaking, they need to find something to do. Maybe that may be business. That may be starting a project. And that may be creating a life for themselves, that to say, yes, I'm able to stand up and speak, but I have content. I have something to say. So I deal with corporate executives, organizations, NGOs, and also even ministers of state, helping them to refine their story, helping them to stand up on stage and say, yes, my name is Ibrahim Mustapha, and I know what I want to do, and I'm going to do that. That's Ibrahim Mustapha, and thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm excited to explore into your experience, Andrew's experience, Laurent's. Like, I appreciate all of you, right? And so let's get started here with the question that for each of you. And what I want to start off here is to look at it from the standpoint of an outlier, right? And so the outliers, we do things differently than others. We have come up with, and part of the way that we're able to do things differently than others is because like we realize that like what works for most other people doesn't necessarily work for us. We had to go and find our own path. So I'd like to start us off here with a view into like some beliefs that have shifted for you. I like this question here. Just give me a chance to get to see you here. Andrew, I'd like to go to you. I think I'll do the same order. So Andrew, I'll start off with you. What's a belief that you had about business, about making impact in the world, about like building a brand? One of those three. But what's a belief that you had that like as you got in, found out that like maybe it works for everyone else, but for you, it's not the right thing for you. And then what did you replace that with? You are currently muted.
Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to mute myself so I didn't interfere with anyone while they were speaking.
Again.
So when we talk about business, first of all, business really, in a nutshell, is an exchange. We need to understand it is an exchange of ideas and also resources, right? Your idea is a resource, but the idea by itself without natural resource, we're talking financial wherewithal or the fuel that makes the resource, your intellectual resource, become a reality, needs to have a connect in place. One of the beliefs that I had was simply, well, you need to have all before you can start. You need to have all before you can start. I have to have the people, I have to have the equipment, I have to have the money. I gotta have all of this in place. But what I've replaced it with is that, for example, as a parent, when I see my son walking for the first time, he didn't even know where he was going. He didn't know if the ground was going to be underneath him when he put his foot down. Had no idea that his knees were going to be able to align to allow him to stand. He just took off, fell on his face, but he learned to get up. And the purpose of replacing that philosophy or that belief that you need to have everything is that in the process of starting without having everything, you get to grow. You get to see where your limitations are. You get to see the nuances that you have to go through to build resilience. You become. Les Brown once said that it's not the thing that you achieve, it's what you become. And so when you start without having everything, you get to become the person that is needed to make that business grow. So in a nutshell is that don't wait. Don't wait to have everything in place. Start, because the thing that you think you need, somebody else is waiting for you to start so they can make it available to you. So just start. And lastly, don't forget, remember, the scripture said that, all our steps are ordered by our Creator, right? So if you just bring your plans before Him and say, Lord, this is it. This is what you put in my heart. You give me the desires of my heart. Help me make this happen. Help me let the world see what you've given me on the inside. And so that's kind of how I look at business.
Oh, I appreciate it here. Like, 'cause I love thinking about this here at Outliers. We have so much going on for us, and at the same time, we might think we still don't have enough. And Andrew, when you put it in that context, there, like like that idea of like you need to have it all. It's like it really, really strikes through. And I have two little ones right now, both under the age of 4. And it's just like I think about it. People talk about just take a baby step. I'm like, baby steps are the most treacherous steps. They're like the hardest ones. You just don't know where things are going to go. So I appreciate that. Thank you for getting us started on this, Andrew. Laurent, let's come to you. What's a belief that what's a belief that you've had that you thought that you used to think was true that now you realize, like for you, you had to adopt something else differently?
Well, the quest, first of all, the search for meaning, is a yes, it's a goal-oriented thing, but it's a hunger. It's something that starts from a place of wanting, and you don't actually know what you're going to find along the way, but you just know that you need something better than what your your current situation. You need to make sense of it. You need to come up with something that you think in the end will prove not only beneficial to you, but might prove salutary, to others with whom you're likely to share your story and your ideas. But the idea of having such a goal-oriented something where you're ready to take chances, you're ready to get out of your comfort zone, to try to explore and to challenge yourself to learn new things in order to bring it all together. And I think initially that took me down many different paths. I went through Stoicism, the likes of Epictetus, which I found like a very, very extremely helpful at the beginning. Buddhism, Taoism, the Greeks. I mean, obviously, you can't help but go through, the Plato and whatever he relayed about Socrates and so many great wise voices of the world, and religion as well. I mean, has a lot to offer, and many great religions, Hinduism and many others, they all have a take on the whole subject that is very rich and that you can take something from. But I never felt at home in any of them, and I always felt the need to go further or to come up with something of my own that would that would really make sense and bring everything together. So that has been my searches. Ultimately, it's with other schools, but it's as stepping stones toward my own. And the meditation time was a book that I published that was a kind of tapestry of ideas that all came together. But I think the last one that will come out soon, that is the English version of something that I've already published, which is La Vie Revisitée, but in English will be Life Revisited, a search for meaning in the senseless age, and a multidisciplinary approach to the purpose of existence. It goes through various channels, scientific or other, to try to bring a very holistic view that integrates all these elements into a cohesive whole that makes sense, and where people can find their own voice, because ultimately it's a stage where people have an opportunity to think and to define their own voice. I'm not there to just present like a TV dinner, for someone just to warm it up. It's
Nice.
it's something. It's an opportunity to rethink, to challenge your own ideas, including mine, and to see what can you come up with? What is it that's going to help you make sense of everything and move forward with a true sense of purpose, and where love comes in. And I'll just end on that note.
Okay.
It doesn't become purely abstract, and because love has many different meanings. You can love cake, you can love a woman because you're sexually attracted to her, you can love I would try to characterize it as motherly love, the giving kind of love that these guys there are talking about very eloquently. And so it's the giving one, and but the giving one also, it's like life. It's where you feed on your environment, and you give to your environment. It's always a give and take. You cannot always give, because ultimately you'll wear out. And so it's something where you feed from the environment, from the nurture, the nurturing culture that you're in, and you try to construct something that can benefit others in the community, so that you have a constructive presence. And
so like, let me like tell you some of the things that are coming through for me here as you're saying this, Laurent. Like, one of the things I get about you is that like you've done a lot of work on this, right? You're not asking the easy questions. You're asking like some of the most difficult questions out there. Like why live? Like what is the meaning of life here? And part of the things I think I'm hearing from you is there's a lot of different schools of thoughts, and be able to go through and find your own way that integrates all that for yourself. I hear you as someone who is adding to the pool of knowledge, adding to like in your like it's almost like your own PhD. I don't have a PhD, so but like part of my understanding is that like you go out, you do a bunch of research, but then you have to come and contribute something new and fresh to the table. When I hear you speak here, I feel like that's at play for you. Does that feel like fair enough to me?
That is definitely the path I've chosen, because I tend to not be pleased with just what other people have on offer. I listen.
Yes.
And all the guys that have spoken so far. I mean, Andrew and Mustapha Ibrahim. They're obviously people that are inspired and inspiring, and it's good to see them. And Andrew is obviously very practical, also very well spoken, and I like the message he delivers. Yeah, I can definitely feature on that.
Well, you're in good company here. Like, I like to share. We're going to come to you in a bit. I want to just point out one other thing that I heard Laurent say that I think would be helpful for outliers, which was you talked about the quest for meaning. And what I got from something you talked about in the quest for meaning was that the component of the quest. And you actually changed the order of things for me, where you said, like, when you go on the quest for meaning, I'm paraphrasing, but when you go on the quest for meaning, it's something that makes you ready to take chances, ready to explore, ready to challenge yourself. And I thought that was important to slow down a little bit on outliers, so that like, because we might be thinking it's the opposite direction. Oh, when I am ready to take on challenge, take chances, then I will go on a quest. When I am ready to go and explore, then I will go do it. But this is actually the other, it's like the thing that you're actually searching to go for, that in and of itself shapes you. So I thought that was an interesting way of putting it into place. And I want to I'll now go to Ibrahim here. Thank you, Laurent, for what you had on here. Ibrahim, like I love to come to you around the components of like a belief that you had that you like ended up shedding and realizing like, hey, it's not true for you, and how that has led to your success.
All right. Thank you very much. And listening to Andrew and the other speaker, I get inspired by them. But then my philosophy in life is, I picked this from Beyonce, and she says that I don't like to gamble, but if there's one thing I'm willing to bet on, it's myself. And that has been my philosophy. So you see a lot of people, we like to gamble on things that we don't even believe in. So some people are gambling, they are doing things that they don't like or they don't believe in. And gambling simply means that they're working for other people and they are not valued. They take that gamble, they take that bet anyway. But me, what I believe in is to gamble on me, to make me the subject. And we all learn this in school, make Y the subject. I don't know the type of schools you went to, but in our school, they used to say, make Y or X the subject. And the Y in my meaning, it simply means make you the subject. And most people don't want to make them the subject. There are times we want to make, my boss the subject, my president the subject, my family the subject, but they forget to make them the subject. And that has been something that has been pushing me to say that, yes, I'm going to be the subject, but I'm going to make sure that I carry others along. So helping people out of, if you are the spotlight, then you can simply help a lot of people. So my philosophy has been that, yes, I'm going to be the spotlight. I'm going to be the voice that will ignite and be the light that will give light to other people in our communities, to let people know that you can believe in yourself with the little that you have. No matter, it's not about how you start. It's about, some people start accidentally. Some people are in the bus, they just see a business idea and boom, they start that. Other people, maybe through inheritance, they start great things just because they've inherited one or two businesses. But then to me, I say, just start. Make you the subject. Believe in you. You may not see the whole staircase, but then just take a step. Take a step in life. Take a step for you and believe in yourself. That's been my philosophy.
Thank you for that, Ibrahim. Like, y'all got me thinking here. In this next place here, I want to bring it down to you. I want to bring it down to, like, not the message you have for outliers. Let them pick out the message from there. But like, what's the message that, like, what's something you got from it? So, Andrew, I'm going to come to you first, and then because I think I'm just really curious. I'm I feel like I'm really curious here, and then open it up to either one of you, and you all can let me know here. But Andrew, what's the worst advice you've ever taken, and how did it change you? Yeah, I know. Like, you're like, I have to come up with all the answers right off the bat. So I recognize
the
that.
worst
But
advice I've ever taken is that you have to get a joke to laugh. You have to, I repeat, get a joke to laugh. But I've dabbled into stand-up comedy for many years, and I'm gonna give an explanation that will kind of bring it, put some meat on the bone, so it makes sense to everyone. When I got involved in this transformational work, I use most of my what I call lived experience to not just formulate a message, not to just formulate a thought, but to trigger in my listeners their own lived experience and what they've been through. Here's why I say that. And so most people struggle to even laugh, to enjoy the moment. And so they're waiting for a special occasion for them to even just be. Laughing was one of them. And I realized that laughing is a medicine, right? Because the Bible talks about it. It's a medicine. And there's another great gentleman, as a matter of fact, one of my favorite books here, The Anatomy of an Illness by Norman Cousins. It's an amazing book. If you've never read it, please pick it up. It's right there on my desk all the time. And he talks about the power of laughter. And he was succumbed to cancers and several other illnesses. And he started focusing on laughing. And laughing triggers so many things, positive endorphins in your brain, dopamine, serotonin. It actually limits the amount of cortisol that gets released into the body. That's a stress hormone. Laughter is so powerful. And then when someone said to me, I have to get a joke in order for me to laugh, that means I have to wait till something funny occurs. Laughing is my expression of what's going on the inside of me. Like, I can wake up in the morning and take a deep breath and say, my God, I can breathe. Wow, that is funny. That is amazing how people don't see that. I can take a step and my foot knows exactly where to land on the ground. I don't have to look. There's so many things that we take for granted. And just in laughing, it makes me enjoy the present instead of waiting for a future occurrence to come in order for me to appreciate what I have now. Laughter is medicine, and we can take that anytime. We don't need a doctor's note. We just need our own permission to look at the joys that are around us and just laugh and say, wow, it's your way of saying thank you. I can't believe I get to do this. I don't have to. I get to do this.
Yeah, it's cool here, Andrew, like where you took it here. You were, I'm sorry, was there something you wanted to add to that? Or like, was there something that struck you in that?
Yeah, it's quite
Anybody can chime in.
Yeah,
Anybody.
please.
right. So it's like as you were speaking, I kept on thinking, yes, that. But to me also, maybe to cap it up with the worst advice
Yeah.
I've heard before is that just because you are suffering, that is going to get better. They said, oh, just because you are suffering, it's going to get better. I do hear that a lot, but the reality is that if you don't take action, you're going to get deep into the suffering. So, and someone told me that, oh, the problems you're going through is just temporarily. But then they don't add, the person didn't add that, okay, you need to take a step. You need to network with people. You need to go out of your lane. You need to move out of your comfort zone. So that's been the worst advice. Just telling somebody that, oh, there's hope. Without telling a person that take a step, move out of your comfort zone. You're not a tree. Move, take a step, invest in your mind, invest in meeting people, people like Andrew, people like Laurent, people like you yourself, Niiamah, and take bold decisions, network, believe in you. But then, just because you are suffering will not mean that things will be better. Sometimes it gets worse and worse until you leave this world. That's the worst advice I've heard.
Thank you for this. Yeah,
Can I
please.
add something to that? Because this is getting good right here. You hear me? I think just to add to what Abraham was saying is that it's not that it gets worse. It's like suffering is a way of slowing us down so we can take a moment to actually understand what's happening in the present. Sometimes we get busy and we're going here, there, and something happens to stop us in our tracks to say, hey, stop for a minute and smell the roses, right? And a lot of people don't come to the realization what they have now until something unfortunate happened. Then they say, wow, when they get through it, when they got to the end of that tunnel of suffering, they realize there's so many life experience, lived experience that they basically extrapolated from that experience. Yes, it will get worse at time, but just like Abraham is saying, you must take action. And lastly, there's a great example in the Bible. We talk about the gentleman that sat at the pool of beautiful for 38 years, waiting for somebody to lift him up and put him into action. Listen, like Abraham is saying, you have got to take the step, but you got to know where you're taking the step. Not every road leads to success. You have to be strategic in the steps that you are taking. That's why we have these individuals on here. Don't just step haphazardly, but step with purpose. I'm done.
You are done. I'm gonna fan you down through the interwebs here. Look, there's a couple different things that are flowing out here. Laurent, I wanna come to you before I bring in myself on something. Is there anything that's flowing out of you in what you're hearing right now, Laurent?
Well, ultimately, these guys are speaking from the point of view of producers, people who are taking charge of their life, and they're at the helm. They're the ones doing the guiding and everything. So the point is, yes, you'll have to be a consumer at some point. You're a consumer of books, consumer of philosophies, consumers, whoever are consulting these guys are consumers. But in the end, they got to co-create. They got to take this, whatever they've consumed, integrate it, simulate it, and see how they can build their own life around that, or even challenge it, but somehow to make it grist to their mill, and to make it a force that they use to precisely move forward themselves as subjects, as Mustapha says, to take it on and to see, where can I take this personally? How can I bring that to fruition? So I'm not just a consumer, I'm a producer. I'm a producer of my own life, and make it in a way that's constructive as well, integrated in the community you're in, and so you become a force for good. You know?
Yeah, y'all have got me thinking here. Like, thank you so much for that, Laurent. Like, you just introduce a distinction, and one of the things that I like is like looking at two different things and being able to see what's the nuance between it, right? And so the distinction you just brought in for me, Laurent, was producer versus consumer. And Outliers, I'm going to invite you right now to just to take a look for yourself as to like, if you had a gauge where you were, I'm sure there's a spectrum of all these things, but if you had a gauge where you are right now, are you living on the consumer side of things? Are you living or are you living more on the producer side of things? And give yourself just that quick little like check for yourself to see like, hey, well, how am I showing up? And where do I want, where do I actually want to be? Because Laurent, like one of the things that was great was you're like everything that they're saying is like if you look at it through the lens of producer, you're in action. It gets you moving. If you're looking at it through the lens of being a consumer, you're still waiting, you know? And so I appreciate you just like offering us a chance to look at those lenses.
Yes.
Yeah. The second thing I'm going to do here is, and you brought up, thank you here, you don't need to get you need to get a joke in order to laugh, like as in the worst advice you got. One of the things that it took for me, and then I'll open up for all of you all to respond to, was this idea of like, it almost looks like they say, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Or like, can't put the cart before the horse. It's like, it's like, I want to be a top podcaster. I want to have an amazing business. I want to have an amazing life. But like, don't I have to know everything first? Don't I have to do like, I found this thing where you actually separated the action. You're like, just like, you can laugh regardless of if you get the joke or not. Like laughing and getting the joke are not one activity. They're two separate things. And I thought that was like really cool to just think about where else in our life and our business may we be accidentally coupling two ideas that are actually separate? And how do y'all go about like decoupling things so that you can like still take the action, even if perhaps like the mindset is not there, or the opposite? Maybe the action is you're taking the action, you're not getting the results, but you're still like, I'm still feeling abundant, I'm still feeling joyful. I would love to talk a little bit about decoupling. Is anyone like called to speak on this?
Well, I'd love to say first of all is that when you're young, when you're a baby, like we did Mustapha was talking about this child, or was it
It was
Andrew?
and Andy was talking about this
Was
child.
Andrew? Yeah. So I mean, taking first steps. I mean, that is the definition of youth is precisely not knowing where the hell you're going, is not knowing whether or not you're going to stand up or fall. Everything is just an absolute state of uncertainty. But you have a hunger to get up. You have a hunger to satisfy whatever needs and desires that are burning within you, and that is ultimately it's grounded on or in hunger. And so hunger doesn't provide you with food; it drives you to find it. So when you're at the beginning of your journey, it's like the search for meaning. You don't have the answers before you start looking for them. You've got a hunger for them because your life is a deep problem that calls for a solution, and or some form of resolution, so that you can be at peace with it, find some kind of like purpose or sense that keeps you moving forward. And so you always begin that journey at a time of complete ignorance and time of uncertainty. So no, you don't wait for, well, first of all, is you don't wait. You take on the challenge of precisely living fully. You don't wait for people. You don't wait for your therapist to provide you with answers. You don't wait for a book to give you all the answers again that you'll just swallow and apply blindly. It's an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to define yourself, an opportunity to see, okay, what the hell am I going to do in this world that makes sense for me, but also for others, because I'm part of a network of beings, and I spring from something far greater than I am, and see, how do I align myself with all the good that is that is in the world, and how do I contribute to that? And that means producing something of worth, and that you have to define yourself, and that is done through the work that brings in your role as a consumer, but ultimately transforms it into a producer.
Thank you for that. Like, I like this here. And you had something to say here. Let's just keep it flowing. We're gonna use this here, and then we're gonna start wrapping up the conversation.
Oh, definitely. I listen. I want to just kind of add to what Laurent was saying. When we look at producers and consumers, that is just typical societal thinking. I want to go a little deeper because a lot of time we may exist on the surface, but we seldom understand that, like the fruit that we see on the tree, there needs to be a root that holds the trunk of the tree in the ground that helps the tree to weather the storm, right? And the bigger those roots are, the stronger the more foundation you have to weather the storms. I want to get our outliers to understand, in addition to being a producer and a consumer, we need to think of ourselves as sowers and reapers, that these are moments in our lives when we are sowing. We're sowing. Everyone is given seeds. We are. You hear my alarm going off? It tells me to get up and take action. I'm excited,
Smooth,
outliers.
smooth. I
Let's
love
do this.
that. Let's go.
And my alarm
Yeah.
says, get up and go. I don't get
Yeah.
up to a music. Well, let me
Yeah.
get back to the point. It's that sowers and reapers, we're sowers because we were given seeds from birth, but it has to be developed so we can understand the meaning and the purpose of the seed that we have. And we have to sow that in fertile ground because someone else may need that fruit. And let me specifically say that the fruit is not just for the taste, it is for the nutrients that it provides to the person that digests that. It doesn't, I'm going to go a little deeper. It's not just at the fruit and seed level, it's the meaning. Here is what I want you to understand, because you guys brought this up earlier on, how we need to separate things. The elemental perspective, I will look at water, for example. There's an oxygen and two hydrogen, H2O. Oxygen by itself is poisonous gas. Hydrogen is an acid, right? But if I put the two hydrogens together along with an oxygen, I then can consume that as water. And that helps me because we are over 90% water in our body. So we want to separate to get the meaning from the moment, but we need to put it together as big picture thinking so we can see how the whole thing make sense and how we come together to make this world a better place. Yes, there is monumental, incremental, elemental moments, but we need to put them together to see how they make up the big picture. We are only a pixel in the big picture of the painting called life.
Look at that.
May I add 2 words?
Please do.
Yes. So, like, keep in mind that consumer producer are conceptual tools that enable us to navigate these difficult
100%. I agree.
Not an end in itself. It's quite obvious. They're just instruments and to make a point. But they obviously, as Andrew says very elegantly again, it's all about integration. I'll maybe just a little parenthesis because I know I don't want to take the floor here, but I used to meet someone, a delivery guy for a health food store I used to go to, and he was always, every time I saw him, he was onto a different tack, a different subject matter, chromotherapy, this, that, whatever. He was always, his mind was very curious, but he was so chaotic, so disorganized, so disoriented, and he couldn't bring all this together to turn it into a meaningful whole. And he just spun his wheels, and he just created more confusion for himself. So I kept saying to him, he said, listen, he said, start small. Start with a more greater awareness of your living nature to begin with. Start from that. You're an animal first and foremost. Your heart is beating. You need to eat, to drink, as Andrew was saying, and everything to feed your body. You're a living being first and foremost before you're a thinking being, and then the thinking should be aligned with life. And when you become aligned with life and all the interconnection it involves and all the affiliation that you have with that greater power that is behind your very being, when you start connecting all these dots into a cohesive or coherent role, then the knowledge will start making sense or becoming meaningful. Otherwise, it's just noise.
I appreciate that, like, in the element of just being noise here. Like, we're gonna, like, y'all have brought a lot of knowledge to this table here. We're coming to the end of our time here. I want to give Ibrahim, like, is there anything that you want to just add into the pool of information? Otherwise, we're going to get into wrapping up and making sure that outliers know how they can actually continue on the journey with you.
Right. So what I just wanted to add is in the consumption and production level is that we all do 50-50. So you are 50% consumer and a 50% producer. And that takes us to lifelong learning. Because sometimes we say, oh, I'm a consumer, I'm a producer. Then you fail to appreciate that life is a learning process.
Mhm.
In as much as you're consuming or you are producing, you need to be aware of your society. You need to be aware of the changes that are coming so that you can consume also by learning. So like I'm here, I'm learning from each one of us, and I'm also producing. So in life, you are a consumer and a producer.
You know, this goes so well with us outliers here. We're going to start wrapping up this conversation, but I oftentimes think about things that like are often brought as like an either or even like a dichotomy in like terms of like a spectrum. And I think about them as like, what if they could be like two separate tanks? You know, you have a consumer tank and a producer tank, and you know, like I'm going to be 75% consumption and I'm going to be 80% like producing simultaneously. Like Ibrahim, when you brought up that element of like we're consuming and producing like here in real time,
They're
I thought that
complementary.
would give us some things. Say it
They're
again.
they're complementary.
They're complementary. They can coexist, like so on and so forth. I think that you know ultimately outliers would just give you a frame to think through how you are showing up right now, right? And to give and to bring you back into choice as you decide to move through your days today, and beyond from here. So outliers, if any part of this conversation really touched you, and like my invitation is to go and share this episode with one person. You can go ahead and put it on your social media if you like, but I would love for you to say like, hey, you specifically, I was listening to this conversation and this message, I thought it would be perfect for you to hear. If that calls to you, please go ahead and share that. That's how this thing keeps growing. We're just going to do it like organically, one person at a time, and then from there, it's enough. like it's interesting to say, but like it will be more than enough. So y'all, we're gonna wrap up our conversation. The way that we close out spaces here in Outliers Edge Roundtable is that we end up sharing with an insight and how the people can go deeper in the journey for you. The insights are very important to me, so I want to make sure we're getting it right. The outside is what you want other people to learn, and insight is what you have learned about yourself, right? And so in this conversation, I'd like to hear what's an insight that you got from this conversation. Now, this being said, you may not have gotten one, and that's okay. Like I don't want to have to like kind of create something out of nowhere. But I like to end with that part here. How this conversation, what is something you're taking away from this conversation? Let's start off with Ibrahim. So let us know about your insight, and then let us know about how people can continue contacting you and going deeper in the journey. So we'll start with Ibrahim, we'll go to Laurent, and then we'll end with
Right. So one thing I've learned about this conversation is that we are always, if your mind is ready, you can get information that will help you. And listening to all the speakers, picked one thing about the alarm thing, which is very important. It tells you to take action, get up and take action, get up and go. So it's quite important, very important to me, even though it was maybe it wasn't part of the plan, but I got to learn something from that. Instead of just waking up to a song or music, loud something, but it gives you a purpose, tells you that take action, get up, do something. So I picked that one, and also listening to them, I know that no, sometimes you need to coil back and learn and take action. So that's helped me, and I will be able to share this to people I mentor. And as we speak in this thing, I was just taking excerpts of it on my TikTok. So I'm live on TikTok, and they're also commenting and adding whatever they are learning from that. And that is quite important. So already I'm giving out to people to learn. And I'm happy to do this.
That's fantastic. I've never even thought about that there. So now I'm like, oh, how else can we play this game? Thank you, Ibrahim. Do me a favor here. Can you let us know how we can continue the journey with you? Where do we find you?
Right.
You're
So
asking how you okay.
Well, let's hear from Ibrahim, and then we'll go to you, Laurent.
Yeah, of
right.
course.
So I'm always on the social platforms. If you type in Ibrahim Mustapha Public Speaking Coach on Google, you should be able to see tons and tons of ways to connect with me.
Perfect.
But then I am always available. If there's any project, if there's any program, I'll be able to connect with each one of you so that we can be able to do that. So I'm always a step away, a stone throw away.
Thank you very much for that.
Things.
That's awesome. Let's keep growing with one another. Laurent, what's your insight, and then how can people continue down?
What thing that makes these guys inspirational is that they are people who not only believe in themselves but believe in life within themselves, and are taking it to all kinds of different heights. And I personally would say that before giving up on life, ask yourself: is it a true lack of meaning that life has, and that makes you become a bit of a nihilist or defeatist, or someone who's just goes through the motion? Just go with the simple idea that a lack of meaning is a deficiency of reason. The problem is not with life. The problem is with you. But work on you. See where you precisely have all the resources really to come up with something that makes sense to you and that can help you move forward. And we're taking action, sure, but it has to be inspired action, like the action of these guys. They're inspired. They believe in something, but you got to believe that life has something to offer. It's not just a waste of time. That there's something. Yes, you're going to die at some point, but what the hell are you going to do with your life in the interim? And that's listen to these guys and see, okay, where are they taken it? And they believe in something. They believe that life makes sense first and foremost. Otherwise, why would they bother? And that's the thing. The lack of meaning is a deficiency of reason. It is your problem. Well, fix it.
Love that. And then Laurent, thank you for that. Thanks for bringing in your perspectives on this. How can people continue down if they want to find out more and dive deeper?
Well, you can visit my website, which eventually will be more bilingual. I mean, it's Laurent Grenier at laurentgrenier.net. So LAURENT Grenier GRENIER.net. And so the current book that is La Vie Revisitée is in French, but it will be published soon, within probably next 6 months, in English. And at that point, it will be showcased, and then you'll be able to see what I'm all about, and what perhaps you can get from me, and where it would take you personally, as a thinking being that comes up with their own answers, thanks to other people's effort in that direction.
Thank you so much, Laurent. And then Andrew, we'll wrap up with you here. If you can share with us your insight for today, and how we can continue down the journey with you.
First of all, I want to just thank everyone for being on the platform today. Thank you for inviting me, for allowing me to use my voice, and, as we say, work your words. I want to encourage our listeners that words are like seed. If you don't really work them, they don't provide any dividend for you to get. They're an investment that you sow, and there is a harvest that's waiting. So if you work the right words, they will pay you right things. Okay. And I want to say that my insight is that it's most important that we hear more. And if you understand the dynamics of the geometry of our face, I'm writing a kid's book on this with my son, that we hear all, we see more, and we say less. Look at this angle: wider, closer, closest, right? Like a triangle. Let's start listening to more, getting more information. So we need to park the speaking and pay more attention, but be so attuned to our environment. And if I can leave this with you, life is a gift. You couldn't make your own life. It is a gift, but is living that you do to make sure you validate the gift of life that you were given. Living is the process that you get up and do. Life is the gift. You already have it. We all have it. Your purpose is what you're created to do with this time and the gift that you have. It's a seed. You have to sow it in the hearts of men. Don't let that seed go into the ground. Sow it in the heart of man, and you perpetuate more trees than you will ever imagine. If it just dies, it just becomes mulch to the trees. That's why they always dancing, because they got their gifts in their roots. You can find me at andrewguyspeaks.com, www AndrewGuySpeaks.com. On social media is Andrew Guy Speaks. Anywhere you find me, reach out. I'm here. I'm ready to help you. Next book coming out called When, Where You Are. Stop waiting to become. Go to the website and let's connect and make this happen. Thank you
Let's
so much
make
for your
it
time.
absolutely happen. Thank you all for your time here. Look, y'all are amazing. Thank you for playing the games that you play. Thank you for living the experience that you have, and thank you for sharing it with all of us here. On behalf of all outliers, I just want to say thank you so much and continue to be you on purpose. Journey on.
Yes.